Hello, Earth Angel, and welcome to episode 22 or 23, of the Devotional Drip, Cultivating Clarity of Mind and Heart Amidst Great Change. I have the honor as a higher self embodiment doula and embodiment coach and somatic coach who is deeply passionate about supporting creatives and visionaries and entrepreneurs and light workers and leaders of getting a front row seat to witness what is happening right now at the altars of some of the most powerful people I have the privilege of knowing on the planet, including myself. Hello, let's just be in some radical celebration about, if you're joining us on the drip, if you're part of the Blood, Bone, and Honey community, can we just all acknowledge how powerful we are and how cool it is that we're just willing to show up in our undiluted expression and maybe even explore a next depth of permission to shine as who we actually are, without that lingering judgment and shame that we learn from such a young age. Like, how cool is it that we get together every week and we have these conversations and we talk about being mystic and psychic and creative and neurodivergent and surviving complex trauma and navigating planet Earth at a time where it's pretty intense to be a human. Yeah, I'm gonna move my little IG live to the other side so I can see the comments on YouTube. Terrell, I sent you a message in response to your last comment. Feel free to send me an email, Sarah with an H at bloodboneandhoney.com. I do not do free readings for individuals. That is something that you can only book with me through my website. So you can check the comment that I responded to you with, some sacred boundaries to set the scene. And we got to do it, right? Women, radiant, multidimensional humans stepping forward to shine in our power right now. It's like we need to create a sacred container for ourselves to be able to be this radiant in our magic. And it is time to call in the harvest. It's time to claim our divine inheritance. It's time to, like the phoenix, this is quite literally the fourth time I have pulled this card this week. I pulled it for the Devotional Dance Coven. I pulled it for a reading on TikTok. And I also pulled it for a client earlier today. And then I pulled it for the drip. So the Phoenix is on the rise. The Phoenix is on the map. The Phoenix is our theme for this devotional drip, because if we're going to talk about creating clarity of mind and heart, we have to activate our breath and activate our perception in alignment with our capacity to meet whatever it is on our path in our sovereignty. So let's start with the Phoenix. Yeah. Let me know if you have a relationship with the Phoenix. What does the archetype of the Phoenix bring up for you? And has this been symbolically showing up in your life? How has it been symbolically showing up in your life? At the altar of the high priestesses and wizards and magicians, I have the honor of witnessing. What I'm noticing is how important it is for us to claim that we are disrupting not only patterns that are within our own mind, heart, psyche, and being, but there is a karmic clearing that's happening right now. So if you are meeting some historically tender, sticky, fiery, uncomfortable stuff, the invitation right now is to know that you are breaking karmic cycles and patterns on behalf of not only your own soul's agreement, but on behalf of your lineage, healing backwards and forwards, front and side, multidimensionally all around you. When we heal and when we clear our own karmic patterns, we are part of the collective consciousness. So it's going to ripple out and affect everyone in our life and in our lineage. So if you've been meeting some sticky stuff, the first thing I'm going to invite you into is to acknowledge that it's big. And can you let it be big? And can you let the fear and the guilt and the whatever historical emotion or pattern in your mind, body, heart, and soul that's coming forward for you take up enough space to acknowledge, like, wow, this is alive for me? We get in trouble when we pretend and act like it's not alive for us. Yeah. When we are we're in the trenches and we're going and we're acting like we got it all together, we don't need help, or we start performing the collapse. It's either we don't need any help at all, or I can't do this. And there's an invitation into this in between space, this phoenix knowing that without the ashes, it can't actually rise. So, a little bit of a spiral into our discussion today. And I want to spiral us down into the ash of the phoenix. And I want to talk about these karmic cycles. And I want to talk about, if you are watching this devotional drip right now, there is an agreement that you have to break up some density in your lineage. This density is currently living in your mind and heart and body and nervous system. When we're breaking karmic cycles, it is a spiritual activation, but the body is also our spiritual vehicle, right? So it's going to affect us on a mind, body, nervous system level. Spiritual awakening happens in the body. So the phoenix is here to remind you that you are transforming your past. And there's a advanced technique described in yoga called tapas, which means purification. And purification happens with a single pointed focus, a devotion and a dedication to, this is what I am here to transmute, and I am in agreement with what is burning up and sloughing off and shedding around me right now, within me, around me, above, so below, as within, so without. As there is an external and internal collapse happening, the phoenix stays focused and dedicated to their knowing that this is for the burning of impurities so that the truth of you can actually rise. We're talking about what are the agreements that you are currently holding up within yourself to loyalty to a past self, a past life, an old way of being and doing. And also, where are you in agreement to being palatable when you actually just want to burn the shit up? Where are you in agreement to being contained, where you actually want to unleash the fires of transformation? Where are you performing niceness when self-kindness and self-love is actually the call? I want to say, like, fuck the program of politeness. Politeness is not kindness. So where are we in agreement to dimming our own light because we are projecting that that is going to make other people in a space more comfortable, but our shoulders are up and our hearts are closed and we can't breathe and our breath is constricted and we feel underexpressed? This phoenix wants to be like, fuck it, and let its wings open wide. And also, in the face of whatever you're transmuting, there's a deep call to self-recognize what a warrior you are, what it means to actually be in agreement to integrate your shadow self to heal things on behalf of your lineage. And if there's some internal war and peace happening for you right now, where can you let that be a natural response to what your soul has agreed to transform? It is a psychological discipline to no longer practice identities, self-concepts, and beliefs that make us feel like we can't breathe. Just because the thought arises within you does not mean that you have to entertain it. And the war and the conflict starts to happen when the mind and the heart are out of sync. And the mind and the heart start to get out of sync when we're not connected to our breath. So, creating heart-brain coherence on a nervous system somatics level, invite in more breath. Working with that texture on a metaphorical level, where can you infuse more breath and permission and space and less constriction and collapse and denial and defeat? The phoenix rising is the warrior rising and remembering, I am a warrior. I am here to transmute on behalf of my own soul, on behalf of my lineage, on behalf of the collective. That doesn't mean that we take on suffering and we have to go into our little mystic cave and we have to think about all the horrible things that are wrong with the world. No, in fact, it activates us into our conviction to stay focused on our own inner light. And I was just talking to a client about this earlier, like redefining what the light is. The light is not docile. The light is not polite. The light could give a fuck about being polite and nice. The light is concerned with compassion, love, kindness, and even sacred rage. That's the lightning bolt, right? The bolt that disrupts. I'm seeing like a lightning bolt of like information coming through in the brain and like disrupting an old pathway. This War and Peace card, this is from my Magdalene deck, points to an internal conflict between the mind and the heart. And we're in Gemini season, we're in duality. I feel prompted to put on the altar, like, where are you at war with your false self and your true self within you? And the false self in this phoenix ashes is ready to just be part of the momentum for the true self, for the higher self to rise. But you have to drop the swords. When the intrusive thought comes forward, when the self-defeating identity or self-concept starts to show its face, it's connecting to the breath and the psychological discipline of plugging back into the heart and asking yourself if you actually believe that's true. We have to give ourselves permission to start questioning those voices that have been given the currency of our consciousness, perhaps until even the last couple of months. I have been feeling intuitively a rapid awakening for light workers on the planet. And there's this energy of being in between worlds, of being in between selves. And the activation feels like it's bringing us into the power of our choice to choose the thoughts that we entertain, to choose the stories that we allow to take up real estate in the temple of our being, and to get a little more radically protective around the temples of our mind, bodies, and hearts, of our energies. Like, do you let people come into your home without taking their shoes off? Even if like that's a value for you? Where are you dragging dirt into your own temple? Where are you betraying yourself in what you allow yourself to daydream about? We have Dragonfly coming forward around perception, clarity of mind, air, Gemini season, duality, twin self. Who and what within you needs permission to come forward now, even though that might disrupt the plan as the ego has laid it out so far? Are you willing to trust the divine so deeply? Are you willing to trust your higher self? And even before trust, we have faith. Are you willing to activate your faith at a next level, to let everything that is false fall away and stand there bare ass naked on the path, walking towards your mythic reality? And can you let that shake and that tremble be a part of the new muscle tone that you're creating to be able to stand there? I don't know about you, but the plan that my ego could create for my life is so much less interesting and satisfying than the texture of the plan that I can feel into, that's a part of the collective plan that is unfolding in every moment and every breath. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to know anymore what's going to happen next. But if we're going to practice walking in radical faith, then we have to do that with our breath, and we have to harness the tools that we have available to us to create coherence. Because to task the nervous system of a highly sensitive, highly mystical, perhaps neurodivergent, perhaps survivor of complex trauma being on planet Earth, who's probably also ancient and lived this in many lifetimes, if we're going to ask that of ourselves, then there's going to be a resource that we're going to also need to provide ourselves with. And I'm seeing like us no longer like pushing ourselves out the door onto the path without any food, water, or resource. Like, we don't need to wander in the desert alone anymore. Um, this is a moment of walking through a passage, of walking through a portal, of a bridge, of a passage between the old world and the new world. This is so funny, but in Harry Styles' new song, he says, I don't want to talk about the way that it was. And like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to talk about the way that it was. These systems have been meant to crumble. This has been prophesized about. We are in the late stage capitalist crumble. And I said this last week on the drip, if we want to see these external systems crumble before our eyes, then where are we upholding agreements with an old reality, an old way of being and doing and showing up in relationship and showing up in business and showing up in leadership and showing up in love and showing up in relationship to ourselves and showing up in relationship to our practice? Where is the old just ready to fall off of you? And can you let it be a sensual, sexual, spiritual experience? I was talking to a client earlier about like letting your path turn you on. If it's hard, if there's a shake, if there's a burn, like letting that light you on fire so that it illuminates the path that's actually before you. Because it'd be really easy to be in this mythic reality and not like see the rainbow. It'd be easy to be on the path and just sort of be right here, right? Like, this card is split in two. So if you feel you're right here, where can you practice a psychological discipline that this is what we're all moving towards? And I think that some of the fear around the collapse is also part of our death phobic culture, right? Like, the phoenix rising is because it's rising from the ash of something that's died. And so when we're creating clarity of heart and mind amidst great change, there can't be any wavering around what we're in agreement to. The wavering of faith and trust becomes so destabilizing and painful. Tapas, dedication, fire, purification says no matter what is showing up on my path right now, I will focus on the light of my soul. I will focus on what is a yes. I will focus on that next morsel of energy and invitation that's calling me and moving me forward. So we're listening to the heart, and then we're applying the logic of the mind, because we are moving through mucky territory. It does require logos, logic, word, navigation. I just was referring to one of my clients earlier as a divine navigator through the labyrinth. And I believe that's what all earth angels and light workers are. We are navigating through the labyrinth. And if you identify as a leader, then you're standing there with a candle and you're standing amidst these people that you're walking with. And you're like, all right, like, I will walk first, and like, let's go. And so if you're a leader right now, it's so important to acknowledge that you have to hold that candle for your own heart, so that when you're shining that light for the people around you, you're clear. You're clear. There's a practice of a psychological discipline around a sobriety of mind, body, and heart around what it is that you actually believe, the nature of reality to be, and what do you believe is happening right now on planet Earth, and why do you believe this is all happening, and what is your unique interpretation when you read the energy code, when you read the energy signature of what's unfolding in your life on the planet right now, and you do that through a lens of radical faith and love, and you practice that this is part of us birthing a new age, what is revealed to you? If you are psychic, if you are highly sensitive, if you are highly visual, part of your prophecy, part of you embodying the prayer of who you are, is to practice that there is a greater reality beyond what exists in this moment, and to hold that vision and to hold the vision of the mythic reality and not call it utopia. We have to stop gaslighting ourselves around another way of being that's better actually being possible. And if you are a mystic and a psychic, then part of your, I want to be tender with the word purpose, but part of your call is to envision a higher reality for yourself and all beings. And this has been coming up a lot on the drip recently. That's not bypassing. That's not spiritual bypassing. To spiritually bypass would be to consent to practicing narratives and consciousness that lead to destruction and death without a rebirth. That's actually bypassing the spiritual gift of what's available to us in this moment to practice and hold a vision larger than the systems of capitalism, white supremacy, and patriarchy have believed in and programmed us to believe in so far. Don't act like the heat isn't getting to you. Don't act like you can wake up and just inundate yourself with news and negative narrative and negative narrative and negative thought pattern and dark thought and dark thought and dark thought and dark thought and think that it's not going to affect your sensitive, beautiful, visionary spirit. It does. So where is there a self-abandonment in consciousness around the nourishment of your mind? Let's just all take a moment and put our hands on our eyes and cool off the front brain. You can breathe into your palms. You can breathe into your hands on your forehead. And maybe in this moment, you've been really needing some clarity around something. You can inhale into the belly. Let that breath travel up into the heart and trickle its way into the third eye. And then on your exhale, you can just let any density or gripping that's been hanging out at the crown just fall right off of you. And in this space, ask your higher self to bring forth a message for you. And it's a message of clarity. And it's a message of love. And the message is full of potential and possibility. I'm seeing visually netting and webbing being peeled off of your brain. Allow yourself to meditate on something blissful. Bliss is actually the activation that opens the crown. So it can be really hard to perceive something beyond what we've practiced so far when we're not inviting in the energy of bliss, of possibility, of potential, of what's been judged as utopia. What does your utopian mythic reality look like? And how can you harness your power to start creating that now? Letting yourself receive the message. And then if you want to, you can give yourself a little massage at the side of your temples, at the side of your brain, maybe massage that jaw out a little bit. I feel like I got to take this off. I got to open up my crown a little bit. I have not looked at my notes at all, so I'm just going to go there. That was just some hot channel off the front of my brain. Okay, so Phoenix. The Phoenix represents transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running or burning bridges with rage. It implies that we're in a state of purifying. We're in a state of purifying the way that we've always done things, the way that we've always showed up, the thoughts that we've always entertained, the way that we always show up in relationship, the way it's always been done. We're being asked to challenge that right now. And it doesn't mean that we have to burn everything up immediately and make new choices and nothing is working anymore and I just have to leave this old life behind and I have to move forward. No, in fact, the Phoenix is like, purify what's here now. Use what's here now as your material in the big bonfire of your purification, knowing that quite literally everything that is presenting itself in your reality right now is part of your alchemical recipe. The spell actually couldn't happen without it. What if this is just the divine giving you all the ingredients for your cauldron of transformation? And what if the thing that feels the most excruciating and like you can't break out of it right now holds the deepest medicine for you? The essence of the Phoenix is with us when we realize we've been doing something some way for far too long and it's no longer working. I pulled this page from Women Who Run with the Wolves earlier today for a client, and I feel like it's just so relevant here, so I'm going to read it. There is a lovely family like this waiting for the maiden in the underworld, as we shall see. In this metaphor of cutting off hands, we see that something will come of it. In the underworld, wherever a thing is not able to live, it is taken down and cut apart to be used in another way. No, everything goes into the compost pile. All of the energy gets used. Nothing gets thrown away. It's all part of it. This woman of the story is not old, not sick, yet she must be dismantled, for she cannot be the way she has been anymore. Yet forces are waiting for her to help heal her. So there's been a really important message recently coming through that we're all going through a shared activation. And I heard an astrologer say that everyone on planet Earth is going to go through their own version of a spiritual awakening by next February based on the placement of the planets. If you've been walking on this path for a minute, even if you haven't identified as a mystic, even if you haven't identified as magical, if there's been an inner knowing that there's something extra going on, like the adults in the room said this and the teachers were saying that, but you just always knew that there was something else possible. And maybe you were called unrealistic, or you were told to come back down to earth, or to, stay in line and follow the rules. But there was always this part of you that wanted to just burn it up and break out of it. The time is now. And there are certain people that are going to walk on this path first, just as it's always been done, because there are always way showers, right? And if you are a way shower, then it's going to be important right now to show yourself the way through the passage. To understand that even if it's dark and you can't see anything, that part of that activation is about cultivating your faith, to know that even if you can't see the rainbow in the midst of the storm, it's what is coming. And your faith will be rewarded, not because of some old patriarchal religious spiritual bullshit that's like Sky Daddy is rewarding you for your faith. No, it's like our own inner connection to our own soul. And the reward is that we feel more whole within ourselves, which makes us feel more whole and a part of the greater whole, which then has our consciousness tuned into the fact that there's something bigger going on. And if you've been feeling like there's something bigger going on right now, I can't just go back to the way I was doing things before, my routines as they have been, the way I was showing up in relationship, the way I've been showing up in my job and vocation, it's just no longer working. when it feels like things are being ripped from us or our hearts are being broken, when we activate our faith and we focus on our higher self and the light and we connect to that spiritual essence within us, we can see from the perspective that anything that feels like it's being taken from us is actually just part of this phoenix fire, and it's getting burned up for us on behalf of our highest good. But when we're in a lot of like internal war in the mind, it can be hard to sense that, feel that, see that, because the ego wants to say, I'm not safe, I need to do things the way they've always been done, I can't break out of the box, I can't break out of the mold, I'm indebted to this thing, I'm indebted to this person, I'm indebted to the way I said I was going to show up and do the thing. But actually, that is a shared experience right now, y'all. And the invitation is to break free of it through our own self permission to listen to our hearts. And that is the opposite of the programming. It is quite literally the inverse of the programming. The Dragonflight talks about being a master of illusion. So being able to see where the illusion in your own consciousness has been placed over you. So it's like where we on the devotional dance coven this week, I had everyone write a list of I am and I am not. The illusion is the I am not. And I encourage you to write out that list for yourself and start to challenge um, the I am not beliefs that perhaps may still be registering as an I am. One that I worked with last week is I am not lost. There's been something, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at Instagram right now because there's a bunch of people live on it, but I still got YouTube streaming. Something that I have practiced in consciousness as a highly sensitive, highly mystic, highly neurodivergent survivor of complex trauma is I am lost because things always felt like they were moving too fast. I'm going to need to hear it, see it, feel it, try it a couple times, have the permission to fuck it up, try it again. Like I need all of the learning styles. And at one point, I somewhere along the line picked up that made me slow. And then I did get left behind. And so something that I'm working with in my own I am and I am not is I am not lost. I know exactly where I am. I know exactly what to do next. I'm in touch with that pulse, in fact, and I'm highly brilliant and highly sensitive, and I have access to all of this resource. And in fact, I am in alignment. If the lie is I am lost, the truth is I am in alignment. And so in my own practice, that's what I've been working with recently. I want to ask for you, what is your I am not and what is your I am? What are you no longer willing to identify with anymore? And perhaps it's the thing that's been told to you for a really long time. In fact, maybe it's the thing that's being projected onto you right now. A lot of people are in the heat of the fire of their mind because we're in Gemini season. We got dualistic nature happening. We got higher self, shadow self. We have purification in the north, in the in how do I want to say this? In the heat, when the heat of the fire is building, there's a respect that needs to get cultivated for fire, for transformation, for the capacity to transform. And I'm seeing like there's this fire of transformation and this current wanting to move through you. And when we resist the change, when we resist the transformation, when we go like this and we constrict ourselves, we're disconnected from our breath, we're disconnected from life source, we're disconnected from resource. And then it's harder to meet that change because we don't trust the fire. We don't trust what's being taken from us. So then we're spending all of this energy trying to gather and hold together the old self and tape back together the old reality and the things that actually aren't working. And we're trying to plug the water in the ship when actually maybe the ship just needs to fucking sink. This feels like a moment to radically embrace death as much as we embrace birth. And to know that the soul doesn't give a fuck about the ego's timeline. The ego wants it to happen now, now, now. I want to purify. I want to get on. I want to go to the next level. I want to move through the passageway. The soul says, honey, the journey is the passageway. Once you get here, what else is there to do? So can we get turned on by this part more? Can we get turned on by this part more? Can we understand that wherever there is a war consciousness within us, that's where the currency of our consciousness needs to be going right now. Where are we at war within ourselves? That contributes to the war consciousness on the planet. It cannot be separated. How do we birth more peace on planet Earth? We birth more peace within ourselves. We practice speaking to ourselves kindly. We practice giving ourselves permission to drop the niceties and step into authenticity. We don't act like things aren't getting to us when they actually are. We stop using our window of tolerance to tolerate shit that's so out of resonance with us. And then we redirect that energy to our own transformation and rising, because guess what? When one of us rises, we all rise. The turtle coming through to offer, you're fucking ancient, and this is not the first time you've been on planet Earth. So where is there perhaps I'm getting like a power dysmorphia, like where you haven't fully accepted that you're as psychic and intuitive and gifted and needed and potent and powerful and beautiful and radiant and unique and sovereign, and on purpose and in purpose that you actually are. Where is there a dysmorphic way of relating to yourself that's alive within you right now? Where are you calling yourself names or consenting to certain conversations within yourself or within other people that feels like death on your tongue? It's like the energy of like, I just can't do it this way anymore. Like that's a wisdom energy. That's that phoenix irritation. That's that fire ant. You don't totally notice maybe when they're biting you, but then after the draining conversation with the person, or after pouring yourself out without pouring back into yourself, all of a sudden those little ant bites start to create a rash on the body. And then you're like, whoa, I'm now in the heat. And I've poured out all of my resource and I gave away all of the things. And I spent all of my time meditating on fear. And I spent all of my time entertaining a reality that doesn't feel like it's life-giving. And I spent all of my time consenting to this old belief that now I'm exhausted and now I'm collapsed and now I can't taste my power. And now I just need to go to bed and take a rest. And if that's where you are, please go to bed and take a rest. The Phoenix Rising is no joke. And also notice what depletes your energy and start saying no to that more often, more ferociously, without apology. I keep saying, for the light workers, for the earth angels, for the mystics, for people who have ever identified with being a people pleaser or who have navigated codependency, y'all, it's our villain era. I hear my spiritual baddies on TikTok sharing this, and I'm just like, I feel such in resonance with it. And like, then also redefining what we've called the villain. We've talked about this on the devotional drip before. Like, what the fuck is a bitch? I'm not really sure, other than a female dog. Who created that? Who called us that? Who told us that? What qualities are associated with that? And then where do we keep ourselves constricted because we're so nervous that someone's going to tell us that we're bitchy or mean or too much or taking up too much space or self-centered or narcissistic or whatever it is. Like, it is time to burn through all of the false shit, all of the fake self. There is enough light, there is enough resource, there is enough stage space and microphone time for all of us. And in fact, I actually saw the activation the other day of like, all of our thrones are just there. And it is up to us to go sit in them. And there's no hierarchy. And we're all sitting in our thrones. And we are all the children of God, Goddess, the divine and source. And that is not utopia. That is just the most natural way that human beings can relate to each other. We could call this Christ consciousness. We could say when we acknowledge the God and divine within ourselves, then it's that much more easeful and available to us to relate to other people from that space. And this is where self-care is community care. This is where cultivating and taking care of our own vibration is actually taking care of our community, because then we show up clear. We show up clear, and we understand also that perhaps if you're a phoenix, um, there's going to be, you might be the only one in the room holding a consciousness that, how do I want to say this? Spirit placed the words on my tongue. If you are a midwife or a doula of consciousness on planet Earth, which everyone watching now and on the replay is, then there is this understanding that you may get it before the other people around you get it. And I shared a passage from Kuan Yin's chapter in the Sophia Code the other day on my stories, and the message of that passage, it's attached to the Sanskrit mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, which is a seated sound of self-compassion that goes so deep within us that it validates the parts of us that have been entangled and inundated and covered and like webbed and netted in shame and lack of permission for so long, that we touch with our own self-compassion, with our own willingness to witness those parts of us that are hungry and starving and begging for water and compassion. It is through bringing our awareness to those spaces that we rehydrate those parts of ourselves, and we integrate our shadow self. We integrate the parts of us that have been denied, and then we start showing up as more fully ourselves, and then that activates everyone else around us. Because you know what? If you've acknowledged the part of you that sometimes, how do I want to say this? If you acknowledge the parts of you that are still coming into maturity, are still coming into being, then you're not pointing your finger at someone else when they're not doing it yet. You're focused on your own paper. We've got to stop with the finger pointing. We got to stop with the judging of each other and the judging of other beings. Like this, if we want to practice self-acceptance, then part of that self-acceptance is going to be a peaceful abiding and a radical tolerance, where we're not controlling the way people are showing up, and we're not controlling what they think and feel, and we're not controlling how fast or slow their awakening journey happens, because we're just concerned about our own journey. Kairos time, soul time, could give a fuck about what the ego thinks. What if right now, even in the heat of the fire, you are exactly divinely positioned where you need to be in order for the next step to be revealed to you? And what would it be to radically embrace your now? I want to ask in the comments on Instagram and on YouTube, what about your now can you radically embrace? I'm going to call you into radically embracing something that you have wanted to run and scream from so hard. What does radical embrace around that look like for you? Tapas, action, devotion, Phoenix, fire, action, but also cosmic egg card, divine timing, not rushing, trusting, not forcing and gripping, but waiting to receive the answer. So even in this moment of being with this prompt, what happens when you stop reaching and gripping for the answer and you allow the answer to be received from within? I'm actually going to bring us into a meditation that I channeled for one of my clients this morning. So if you want to join us in this while we're in this inquiry, you can bring a hand to, let's do this. Let's do a hand on the heart. Let's do a hand on the belly. I'm going to invite you to support your body, like somatically activate support. Put your spine up against a wall, lay down on the ground. Be in a position where you somatically feel like you can receive more breath. You can receive more of your truth. You can receive more of what's real and here for you right now. And then when you land there, if you'd like, if it feels okay, or if you want to put your hands somewhere else, it is your body, it is your sovereignty, it is your practice. Please activate your self-permission to be and do in this however you want, however feels good. practicing activating our permission to shift, to change, to try something new in every moment, letting go of how you always meditate, how you always breathe, how you always lay, how this always goes for you, and opening up to something new right here, right now, together as earth angels, as light workers, as mystics, as humans with a prayer in their heart for more love to infiltrate onto planet Earth. Let's give ourselves an opportunity for more love to enter into our own vessel so that we can vibrate it out from that space of sovereign self knowing and higher self connection. Okay. So if your hand is on your heart and your hand is on your belly, I'm going to invite you to drop your awareness into where your hands are physically placed on your body. And then first take a breath and feel your belly rise, feel your breath make contact with your belly, and then your hand make contact with your belly. And then notice as you inhale the way the breath is going to rise into your heart and into your hand on your heart. And then on your exhale, feel the physical softening of your hands on your body, maybe releasing the grip, softening your hands a little bit more. Symbolically, symbolically, for the way that you're ready to release the grip on your life and your path and what's next and what's here and what's needed. What if the human doesn't need to have the answers? What if the spiritual practice is actually inviting the human to get still enough to receive and remember that we are not alone? I'm going to invite you to connect to a light at your belly and a light at your heart. And as you inhale and exhale, this light is going to grow brighter. And it's going to start to illuminate and fill the chalice of your being. And this light is going to start to anoint any part of you that needs to drink it in. And then I'm going to invite you to imagine that there's a bowling ball like weight dropping down from your pelvis all the way down into the heart of the earth. If you'd like to, you can connect to the heart of the earth as the mother, as Gaia. Gaia, earth, as her own goddess expression of source. Connecting to Gaia, connecting to earth, letting the human, letting the blood, letting the bones sink deeper, letting the pelvis be heavy, letting the bones start to rest. And just spending a moment here in your belonging. Affirming that you belong here and you belong here now. No matter what is happening around you, affirming, I belong. Coming into that childlike innocence. That's also a magical primordial knowing that you are divinely held, protected, and guided at all times, especially when you feel shrouded in darkness. Letting that inner divine child Take a breath of remembering, and maybe your body feels the call to shift in some way. I'm seeing people coming onto their sides almost into like a fetal like position and just letting themselves be cradled. I'm seeing people opening their arms and just flopping back on the ground. How can you in your body symbolize belonging in this moment so that your brain and your heart can have that somatic clarity of I belong? Maybe you want to put your physical heart on the ground and come into a child's pose. Maybe you want to pour your body over a pillow or a bolster and just hug it. Feel your physical body weight on the ground and give your bones a moment to just remember. And now finding yourself in whatever position or shape that your higher self, that your intuition, that your instinct has guided you into. Acknowledge yourself as a living sculpture. And if there's any gripping of your fingers, or maybe even gripping at the third eye and the brain, like if there's any grabbing at the top of the head, or grabbing in the feet and the toes, or grabbing in the pelvis. I'm even hearing grabbing in your anus, like letting it go, using your breath to release the tension. And then just noticing, like, has clarity been created so far? Maybe has the chaos of the mind slowed down, or the heat in the body, or the heat of what you're navigating right now in your life. Maybe the flames feel a little more contained. Inhaling and exhaling and just noticing the rhythm of your breath, and how does your breath feel in your body? Is it warm? Is it wet? Is it cold? Is there anywhere you need to send it in this moment so that it can support your remembering of your belonging at this time, in this moment, in this part of the prophecy of birthing heaven on earth? Calling yourself back from all time and space to this moment. A quantum integration. Visualizing perhaps anything that's happened within the last week or month or year or couple years, or even in this lifetime, or maybe there's past life visions coming forward, but just seeing your energy return back to you. Wherever there's like a snag in your consciousness, breathing into that and calling all of you back home, claiming your right to have all of your energy, all of your magic, all of yourselves, all parts of yourself. Perhaps meditating in this moment what multidimensional means to you, and relating to that word in a new way. And perhaps our higher self, if you've related to it like this, isn't outside or on a scale or a reaching up. What if it's a reaching in, and a reaching back, and a reaching forward, and a calling into the coherence of this moment, all parts of you? Taking this moment and this breath to eradicate any preconceived notions about what the soul or what the higher self is. Or there's any way that you don't feel good enough to be your higher self. Collapsing that chain in consciousness and breathing in yourself as your higher self right here, right now, all parts of you, even the parts that are still remembering. Any part of you that makes you cringe, any part of you that you're embarrassed of, anything that you feel guilty for, anything that you're currently navigating shame around, wrapping your big angel wings around all of those parts of you and calling them close to your heart. Taking a breath into all of you. Exhaling, sending down into the earth resistance to holding all of you. And now I'm going to invite you to visualize a black womb space. We're going to meditate on this as the seventh plane, as the black womb of no thing, as the womb of the divine feminine, as the womb of the divine mother, as the womb that your soul was birthed from. Have you ever thought about who and what birthed your soul? Noticing what it feels like to just let the mind meditate on this inquiry of who and what birthed my soul. Connecting to a vast black space where the pulse and the frequency and the energy signature is that of a unlimited, divine, loving consciousness with no conditions that need to be met in order to access it and drink from it and remember that we come from it. Connecting back to your true mother, the mother, and taking a moment to bask inside of this womb space and see if you can allow yourself to be breathed. Noticing that when we breathe, really our only job is the exhale. So seeing if you can receive the inhale and then exhaling resistance to reception, to receiving, to guidance, to asking for support and help and resource, to prayer requests, to the word help. And in this black womb space, I'm going to invite you to visualize and imagine the power of our imagination, who says that's separate from our magic. Imagine your soul as a bright golden light emerging from this black womb space, asking to be birthed. And in this moment, I'm going to invite you to speak your name out loud and then say, I am, and speak your name. And what I want to invite you to connect to is the soul of your voice asking to be born. And in that asking to be born, your soul had an intention, a primordial yearning. And in this moment, I'm going to invite you to use the living library of your breath, inhaling and exhaling and deepening your breath to receive anything that this original spark of your soul wants to bring forward for you today. And if you could use one word to describe your essence, what would it be? The phoenix rises because it remembers who it is and why it came here. And it knows that the remembering doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to make sense yet. Connecting to your soul's agreement to be here on planet Earth, knowing that you would forget. And embracing that as part of the journey. And in this moment, there is this passage, there is this portal that I'm wanting to hold for you in this visualization, in this meditation, in this moment of you taking time to drink from the well of your own soul's truth. This is a moment, a window, an opportunity for you to not only remember your essence through this moment of guidance and connection here, but to then bring and shine this essence out into your life. Your original essence, the blueprint of your soul, your yes to life, your yes to your journey, your yes to meeting everything that you have met on your path so far up until this point, and not needing it to make sense and not needing it to be fair and not needing even in the radical embrace to like it, but to practice an acceptance, to practice your agreement, and to let the conviction of that agreement be what lights the way as you continue to rise. So taking a few more breaths here into this light of your soul, into this black womb of no thing, into this primordial consciousness, into this temple space, this inner realm, this mythic realm, this inner altar that you have the right to go to at any moment to receive clarity through the breath, through acknowledging my mind and my heart both hold the wisdom, and when I bring them into coherence, a pathway is created. That happens through my breath, that happens through my perception, that happens through my willingness to see things differently. The vulnerability of trying on something new. And then one last question here for the light of your soul, for the light of your higher self. Where can I expand? Where can I expand? And just prompting yourself with that question and trusting the first thing that comes forward. And then affirming in your next breath, wow, all of the answers really are within me. It's time to drop the story as it's been told so far. It's time to tune out everyone else's stories, everyone else's requests, and only say yes to what is a hell yes for you. and stand in the conviction of your light and tell your story, storyteller, wisdom holder, code keeper, and stop asking for permission. Permission granted, divine inheritance given. Our job is to exhale so that we can inhale what is here for us now. Again, just noticing your breath and letting these last couple of breaths be kind, radically self-affirming, sovereign. See if you can taste your own energy in a new way after having taken some time and space to just be in that and not in the noise of the mind muck or the noise of what's around you. When our minds are clear, the way is clear. When we want to create clarity of mind and heart, it's time to tune into our breath and come into the inner temple. And the last thing I want to offer as a part of this, just while we're in this deep space together, is to invite you to be in a meditation around when the old thought and the old story and the old pattern starts to bring itself forward, to be in the psychological, tapas-like, phoenix-like, fiery-like discipline to say, no more. I am not that. That is not true. To look in the face of your own inner critic and say, no. To look in the face of your own inner bully and say, no. To look in the face of these learned programs and beliefs and narratives and stories that are lies and say no. And also know that they were part of the initiations on your path up until this point so that you could rise in your power. And what if the people that have hurt us the most deeply are our deepest teachers? If there's any last part of yourself, if there's any last conversation between you and your own soul you need to have here, you can do that at this time, knowing that this space is ever abundant and always available to you. And when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to, again, feel the physical weight of your body on the ground. Breathing into your bones, dropping into your body, feeling a new version of yourself pouring in, new consciousness, new textures, depths, dimensions, and levels of compassion and love and acceptance and trust and faith and creativity and divine solutions. Seeing portals and passageways where there was once stuckness, density, and block. And then let's end this with a little somatic hold or a hug. You can place one hand under an armpit, the other hand on the other arm, crossing your arms across your body and heart. You can give yourself a squeeze and you can breathe into the holding of yourself. And exhale into the holding of yourself, knowing that As you hold yourself, you're also held within a field of love without you needing to even know that, sense that, touch that, taste that. But the more that you do, the more that you can resource it and the more that you can use it. When you're ready, you can bring your hands to your heart or even to your third eye and down to the heart to drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, drink it in. Feel your palms pressed together. Feel the power of these parts of you coming together, hands in prayer, bringing together, a coming home, an integration. And when you're ready, you can blink your eyes and come back into the space. Sorry, my Instagram live was still going. So that was a deep space that we were just in together. I want to just add a couple of last notes here to the altar. Prepare to have Phoenix rising moments multiple times a day. When we're working with the Phoenix, we're invited to no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we have done. The stuckness and the dead weight just fall into the ashes. And the fall is necessary for the rise. Consider the quality of your mind, consider the quality of your perception, and when a restlessness arises, focus on the breath. We're peeling back the veil. We're seeing ourselves and each other in new ways. It is vulnerable, it is new, just let it be that. Let your life be an adventure and get turned on by what feels hard right now. Let it light you up and remind you who the fuck you are and how the fuck you can versus who you're not and how you can't. Dropping rigid thinking, dropping following orders, dropping old agreements. And remembering that we hold that pulse of the black womb of no thing of the universe within us. And we are a force of ever expanding love. The cosmic egg is a symbol of a divine feminine force that is creative and all loving and all knowing. And it emerges from within us when we're willing to trust our path in a new way, when we allow things to unfold in divine timing. Let your spirit return to you. Call your energy back from all time and space and do it regularly. The Phoenix rising is going to happen multiple times a day in the form of that thought being entertained and then you stopping it and you choosing a different course and then you therefore rising from that space. That's the call. Let the death of the old self and the old life be real and know that you're not the only one in this activation. We are all out here as children of planet Earth being called into this right now. It's 3:23 on 6/3 and we're at 1:13:33. So that feels like the appropriate portal to end this on. Sorry that this is out of focus. It's all right. We're in liminal time and space. I will send out this month's practice playlist with the replay of this drip. Thank you for joining me for this fiery episode of the drip today. Please remember your power. Please remember your ancientness. Please go out and tell your story. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I love you. Mwah. Namaste.